The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Pompey Sound presents a roundup of predictions for Sunday's game.
Sky Sports presenter and former Southampton stalwart Dave FRATTON says, "It's one of the biggest in EFL terms this. It's a feisty affair, they absolutely hate each other, which bodes well for the game. It's really harshly fought, the way they've started, it's nicely balanced. Will still has so many players at his disposal, and John Mousinho has that strong team spirit there and togetherness. Both are to be respected. Right now, given where they find themselves, it's as balanced as you could wish for. It's set so nicely for a real exhibition. I'm hoping it's a spectacle. I will go 2-2 for this one."
James Ray of the 72 says
This meeting has been a long time coming, and now back in the same league for the first time in 13 years, I can't wait to see how Southampton versus Portsmouth pans out. The hosts will be the favourites as the relegated side, who have spent well in the summer, and in the grand scheme of things, some might say that takes the pressure off Pompey. I'm not sure I agree with that sentiment though, as while the away side will be underdogs, they know just how important the outcome of this game is to the fans. Both South Coast sides have played out very close league games early on this season, and I do see that continuing. It means the game could be won by a moment of magic. If that is to be the case, I lean towards the Saints. I'll go for a narrow home win, but this could go either way or end level very easily. Prediction: Southampton 2, Portsmouth 1.
The 72's Harry Mail says
Southampton have made a pretty slow start to the new season. They're aiming for promotion back to the Premier League. Will still side won on the opening day against Wrexham. However, they are winless in their last 3 outings since then. As for Portsmouth, they should be in confident mood after their victory over Preston North End. They are on the brink of the playoffs after their opening 4 outings. John Mousinho's men will be in for a tough test against their rivals though, and will need to be at their best. I think they may be able to get a draw here. Prediction: Southampton 1, Portsmouth 1.
And Pompey Sound's Dan Shaw goes a 2-2 draw, adding,
"I'm not sure I really believe that, but I can't tip them ever in my life. They have a squad worth £145 million, and a wage bill of £80 million, many of them playing in the Premier League last season. They're at home with a new manager, and so the odds are very much with them, but these games can be like cup ties, form, and the forementioned can go out of the window. We need a laser-focused, brave approach from all the players, and a desire to really get at them. This will really be the biggest test of this new-look side, to see who has the stomach to fight for the badge. I hope they can do us proud, and I'll gladly walk out of there with a point, as well as some disinfectant." Pompey Sound's Dean Adams says, Big game, but it's nice to have these derbies back. It's what we want. But this weekend isn't just rivalry, it's also keeping our league momentum going. I've seen both Southampton's home games and I've not been impressed. I'd be happy with a draw, but I can see us coming out on top. A Pompey 2-1 win."
Pompey Sound's doyen correspondent Mick Robertson texted us this prediction.
"More valuable side fresh from Prem. Favourites for promotion. I don't want disappointment. 3-0 defeat."
We asked Pompey Sound's Steve Bone for his prediction.
Of course. I'm going 1-1. Colby to put us ahead, but that lot to salvage a point. I'll be happy if we don't lose.
And let's finish the prediction roundup by asking AI for its prediction.
For a Southampton versus Portsmouth match, predicting the outcome depends on many factors, including recent form, injuries, team tactics, and head-to-head records. Here's a breakdown of elements to consider. 1. Recent form. Southampton and Portsmouth's recent form will heavily influence the outcome. Southampton, traditionally a Premier League side, may have more resources and a higher level of competition experience. Portsmouth, meanwhile, has been in lower divisions for several years, which could impact their current squad strength. 2. Home advantage. If the match is at Southampton's home ground, St Mary's, they'd likely have the upper hand due to home crowd support and familiarity with the pitch. However, Portsmouth is known to have a passionate fan base, and if the match is at FRATTON Park, they could be tough competitors. 3. Head-to-head record. Historically, Southampton has been more successful, but Portsmouth has had some memorable victories in the past, especially in rivalry matches. This could add to the unpredictability of the fixture. 4. Key players. Southampton's current squad, based on recent seasons, may feature players with more experience in the top tier, whereas Portsmouth might rely on some key individuals for their success. Given all of that, Here's a possible prediction. Based on form, Southampton 2, Portsmouth 1. Southampton might edge it with a 2-1 win, especially if they bring their A game. However, Portsmouth could put up a strong fight, making it a competitive match. There are, of course, other factors which AI is not yet able to factor into their predictions. For example, the selectability of Pompey's star player so far this season, Adrian Sezegicic. The physical demands of his 10-day stint out in Australia and New Zealand will be measured by Pompey right up until team selection time. And in the absence of Callum Lang, Pompey might have a big hole at the front on the right. But it's a subtlety that evades artificial intelligence. Another factor which AI can only touch on but which fans will know and understand to a greater degree, is the whole business of football and allegiance. Research suggests that there are no Southampton supporters among the Southampton squad, whereas Pompey, particularly in recent times, have been chock full of Portsmouth men who are through and through Portsmouth men. Many of them watched from the terraces their boyhood team, and may have attended Southampton derbies themselves, and therefore understand and still feel the passion which is involved, and can affect the rest of the squad and the way in which they approach the game. Only time will tell what this aspect of the derby brings to the match in terms of influence on the outcome, but it may be that Southampton's home advantage will be neutralised by Pompey's advantage in sheer bloodline.
Yes, no two ways about it. We win on bloodline, DNA, call it what you like. Our side is heavily influenced by Pompey men. I mean, Marlon Pack is Pompey to the bone. John Swift is Pompey to the bone. Connor Chaplin, a Worthing boy, but you've only got to go down to the seafront and turn right in Worthing, 20 minutes in a kayak and you're in Pompey land. And he was a Pompey boy as a player, as a young player, as a mature player. He's Pompey to the bone. That's three of us. And then there's a fourth, because I am a betting man, and I would bet my life. I'll tell you what I'd do. I would bet you £1 to a penny, 100 to 1, that Matt Ritchie sends a tweet morning of the game saying play up Pompey. That's four. Okay, four men, not just ordinary footballers, by the way, top echelon footballers with the Pompey squad, proven through and through to be fantastic footballers, but Pompey men who get it, who get this match. They get it inside out. They know exactly what it means to them. And the club, of course, and the fans first and foremost. They get that because they've been fans. They've sat there or stood there on the terraces, cheering us on, daring to fear that we might lose to Southampton, knowing and understanding how it will dog you for weeks and months, no matter what else is going on in the league. The fact that Southampton have got the bragging rights will dog you. You'll wake up in the morning shuddering. You'll go to school on the bus with your eyes closed, feeling the humiliation, the disappointment, more than disappointment. Is there a word for the feeling that you feel when the side that you dislike the most, because they're so close and because they're so annoying, inflicts something on you? Now, we've looked at the Southampton setup. We've got all these Portsmouth men training side by side with men from Hungary and Australia, Austria, through the last 14 days, and quietly telling them what it means, because they know what it means. We looked at the Southampton team for the last game that they had, which was against Watford. And you've got Bazuna, who we know, who's Irish. We've got Harwood Bellis, a good Southampton FC name, but he's a Stockport boy. Wood, who's Middlesbrough. Stevens, who's Torpoint. I don't know where Torpoint is. I don't think it's a suburb of Southampton. Manning, who's from Galway. They do good horse racing and good golf in Galway, and they produce some footballers as well, but they're not Southampton through and through. Shay Charles is a Manchester boy. Fraser's an Aberdeen boy. Rørslev, not surprisingly, is a Copenhagen boy from Denmark. Then you've got two lads who are the closest to Southampton born and bred. Robinson and Azaz. Cockneys. Londoners. And it's rounded off with Archer, who's from Walsall. Now, what are they going to know about a Portsmouth-Southampton derby? Answer, well, they'll know some things, but what will they feel? Diddly squat. And yet we are rich. We are beyond rich in players who know it and feel it and were there and still are there and will be able to tell their colleagues something of what it means to the 18,000 who show up every other Saturday, and we understand something like 30,000 to 40,000 people in the region who love Portsmouth Football Club. So on that basis alone, we have something which, and I think the news piece got it right, can neutralise home advantage. Can it dominate home advantage? Well, time will tell. Time will tell. But for sure, that is going to be our 12th man on Sunday.
Southampton boss Will Smith has revealed meticulous preparations for the game. For example, he says, "We've set up various things so that the players understand what it means. We've got ex-players coming in, we've got people coming to paint the picture of what this is, what it means to everyone, but also for the newcomers in the club and in the league. I think we're putting the right things in the right place to make sure everyone gets it. It means more to the supporters, but it's got to mean more to us as a team as well. We can't just accept conceding goals, we can't just accept that we draw games. That's not the standard that we want to work to. We want to stop conceding these poor, rubbish goals that we've conceded in the first couple of games. So it's a good moment to play a derby. It needs to mean something extra. It needs to mean a bit more, we know that. Hopefully the players are all fully aware of where we're going and what this means this weekend."
John Messino is playing a straight bat over the business of whether or not Connor Chaplin's loan contract with Pompey includes material that enables Ipswich to ask for him back. Messino is saying this:
I didn't have anything to do with the contract, I just get the player, but I suspect there is. But we could have had Connor Chaplin with a recall or no Connor Chaplin, so the decision was pretty binary really. In a lot of these situations, if you had a season-long loan for a player in the final year of his contract, a lot of the time by the time their contract expires, the parent club shakes their hand and says thanks very much, and this is the end of your time. He'll still be out of contract though, and we will hopefully have a chance to sign him long term. But I also don't think Ipswich are counting themselves out of that. When we had our discussions towards the back end of the window, we were bringing Franco, Mackenzie and Joe in. That was us done in terms of targets. We didn't have a spot dedicated to bringing a number 10, particularly because we feel we're strong in that position. We have got players we feel are good in that area, but it was one of those where we could bring Connor in.
Frankly, there's a lot of disproportionate talk about whether or not Chaplin is going to go back to Ipswich in January. And the suggestion there is that if he goes, then we're floundering. Well, I think the rest of the squad, the other 20-something players in the Pompey squad, should, quite rightly, take all that little clamouring personally. Because I think there was agreement that the squad that we looked as though we were going into this campaign with was strong enough. In fact, it was considerably better. This is the collected wisdom of those who really know and understand the game, and Pompey in particular, that the squad was stronger than at the end of last season, which we ended well for us. So Connor Chaplin is completely the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top. I think that's what John Messino referred to it as. And we've got him until January, and that means that we've got him for nearly half the season left before he might go back. It can happen. It tends not to, but it can happen. A lot will depend on how Ipswich perform. We know all the calculations and the permutations of this and how well he's doing for Pompey, of course. And if he stays, he stays, and if we have to buy a bit of him, then we'll consider buying a bit of him. Let's hope that he impresses us so much that that becomes the case. But as I said before, we should know whether or not we are solid mid-table material before January. The Championship is a notoriously level playing field, because if you're too good for the Championship, you don't play in it the next season, you've gone up. And if you're not good enough for the Championship, you don't play in it next season because you've gone down. It's only the Premier League where clubs that are at the top can get stronger and stronger and stronger because of the money that's coming in, because they're being successful. They're going to be in the Premier League next year. The teams that win it, the Liverpools of this world, they will be in the Premier League next season. They're not going anywhere. So you have this elite, this creme de la creme at the top end, which you don't get in the Championship. You get clubs coming down from the Premier League and they get their parachute payments, but their survival, their omnipotence, their unbeatability in the Championship, because they're recently a Premier League club, is not just open to question. It's clearly, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The clubs that come up, we're getting worried about the Wrexhams of this world coming up and spending a fortune on their squad and getting up towards the top and pushing us down further away from the top. That's not going to happen. The Championship is a very level playing field. Of course, there are teams that are marginally, even considerably better than other teams in the Premiership, and teams that are worse in the Championship, and teams that are worse than the other teams in the Championship. But the gap between the two, the top teams and the bottom teams, is narrow, very narrow. And we absolutely know, because it happens often, the better team does not win. A top team can get beaten by a non-top team, by an untop team. That's the nature of the Championship. But we will have a good idea from our week in, week out performances come January whether or not we are a safe mid-table Championship side, which we understand is the target for this season. We can threaten the playoffs, and that will be sexy. We might even hit a bump in the road. You've only got to lose 3 in a row in the Championship, and all of a sudden you're in the basement, as they call it. But we think that won't happen with or without Conor Chaplin. As Mousinho said, he wasn't an afterthought, but they were happy with their plans before he got on the phone. We understand he may have orchestrated this move himself. He got on the phone and said, any chance of, I'd love to come back. I know where all the fish and chip shops are around FRATTON, so it would be sweet for me and my folks. Maybe that's what happened. But here he is, and we've got him for at least nearly half a season. So let's enjoy. And let's not suggest that the other 20-something players in the squad are considerably lower classed players than Chaplin. We've got some other players who are borderline Premier League. In fact, that would be a really good topic for discussion. How many of the current Pompey's squad would get by in the Premier League? I can think of 3 or 4 straight away. What about you?